Okay, in this video we're just going to talk about using frame markers on the Panasonic cameras. And I did do a video about this a while back. I'm using the GH6 here, and I did a video about shooting open gate on the GH6, and I kind of bundled frame markers into that video. So a few people have asked me about it, and I just thought I'll quickly go over it again in a separate video, and then people can kind of find it in the playlist, and it's it's just a bit easier to navigate. So to use frame markers on the camera, essentially what we do is just jump into the menu on the camera. Just quickly before we start, I'm in the movie mode at the moment, so you can do this in any mode. But if you just jump into the menu and then jump into the video icon on the side, and then you're going to want to come down to the cog, and then the second camera icon. And then under here we've got frame marker, and you can see there it's set to off. So if we come into that, we've got three options. So we've got on, off and set. If we come into set, you can see we've got another three options. So we've got the mask, color and the frame aspect. And in here there's quite a lot of different ones. We've got aspect ratios for things like anamorphic, which I'm not going to cover in this video, but you've got options there for anamorphic. You've got 16:9, which is, most people probably are going to be shooting that as a standard, so just standard, horizontal video. 4:3, we've got 5:4. 1:1 I use quite often for web content, for mobile. I find that quite useful. And then we've got things like 4:5 and 9:16. And 9:16 is probably what most people, I would imagine, are going to use frame markers for. So that's for obviously shooting your vertical content. So you've got things like Instagram Reels, TikTok content, YouTube Shorts. So you'll be able to repurpose your horizontal video for things like that. So one thing I would say just before we start this, if you're shooting in HD, and you're looking to crop from a horizontal to a vertical, you're going to find probably that the quality is actually not going to be high enough for some social platforms. So what you're going to really want to do is shoot 4K or higher, and then when you crop into that vertical, you're going to have enough data to resize it without having to lose quality on the image. So yeah, I'd kind of recommend that anyway. But if we do 9:16 as an example, so we can set that. The frame color, you can change that to whatever you want depending on the colors in your scene. The frame mask, I believe by default is set to 100, so we'll do that. And if you just go straight back, you'll find that it's not there because we've set it, but we haven't switched it on. So then we just need to jump in and switch that on, and then come back, and you can see there we've got a very hard line around it, just showing us what the vertical is going to look like. And I'd probably recommend, to be honest, with this, you set one of the buttons to flick on and off frame markers. So I'll link up in the corner to a video about how to set shortcuts and things on the front of the camera, but I'd recommend that because then you're not having to dive in the menu every time to sort of set it on and off, because really you just want to be able to toggle in, check your frame in and come back. I'd say when we're looking at that, when this is on, it's worth remembering this is only a preview. It's just showing you the vertical of it. It's only a marker, it's not a crop. So when you film in, that's not going to be there. So when we hit record, the marker still shows, but when we come back into actually look at our video, you can see it has shot it as we'd expect in 16:9. So it is just a marker. I find personally when I'm setting them, I like the frame mask to be a bit less aggressive than that. So I usually set it to maybe 25, and then that gives me, even if the scene's a bit busy or the camera's in bright light, I can really see there that, that's the crop for it. So yeah, I'll generally do that. And quickly going back to the quality on it, if you do just want to shoot vertical video and you're not worried about the frames, you can actually shoot vertical on the camera, obviously, and if you set it up correctly, the camera will actually burn the metadata into the file to say it's a vertical video. So when you put it into your editing suite, it will be in there as a vertical video. I'll link above on a video on how to do that, but you know, if you're doing that, you don't really so much need frame markers, but it's worth knowing that that's a thing as well. So yeah, you can turn this mask off as well. I don't find that as useful because it gets a bit mixed up with the grid lines, which I also like to have on. And that's where, you know, if you wanted to set your color, you can, and then it's a bit more defined from the grid lines. So you've got a few options on how to work with it. I mean, that is a lot easier to work with on the screen, you know, rather than having the outer edges blurred. So I'd say if you want to keep the frame marker on whilst you're working, then it's probably worth having the mask set to off. But if you're just punching in for a quick shortcut just to see, you know, where the marker is, it's probably worth having it set up in the higher opacity, so you can just get a really quick kind of preview of it. And the reason I kind of say this is worth using is just because quite often when you shoot a horizontal video, but you're planning to repurpose it for vertical, quite often you don't think about the composition of it, and you might actually be missing out on things that you need in the shot. So it's worth, like I say, toggling these on and just kind of checking out what is going to be there in the shot. And then that covers it really. It's quite a simple feature, but a really useful one, so it's really worth knowing it's there in the camera. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a like. If you want to see more about the Panasonic GH6, then check out the playlist on this channel, and please subscribe.